To my YouTube channel. It's a boy King Badom, and you know the vibe, you know what we're here for. Today we'll be looking at something interesting. And what we'll be looking at today is patterns. Did you know that often your brain is wired to recognize patterns? It's how we survive, learn, and make decisions. Patterns are the very core of life. We could see patterns from the rising of the sun to the setting of the moon. They're known as daily patterns. But it has gone unnoticed because it's normal and necessary for existence. The fact that the sun comes up and the moon, everybody sees it as a normal thing, but that's a pattern. We can see patterns in nature, in science, in technology. With technology, you can see patterns and algorithms. You can see, for those that are into the tech world, you know that when you're studying certain languages, you have to deal with objects, classes, almost the same patterns. Understand? Because patterns rule our life. Well, there's one of these Italian scientists. He came up with the Fibonacci sequence. So it is known as Orlando Fibonacci. And what my telling you this story is that I think one of the reasons why Africa is where it is today, this is outside the whole topic of today, but it is somehow related to the patterns we're talking about. This guy came up with the sequence for plants and all of that. The way plants usually go is a pattern. You could see that this Italian, Leonardo Fibonacci, the Italian mathematician, I can bet you that it was from his predecessors, from processes that were documented by his predecessors, that he improved on and was able to build a sequence that is true. He was able to read, apart from that, he was able to read the patterns of how plants grow. And this is the issue with the third world country. Most especially in Africa. Let me say Africa, we don't call us third world countries because we're not. In Africa, the issue was that patterns were not recorded. It was passed down through, it was more verbal. It was not recorded. The intricacies and those tiny bits and pieces that can be missed by the fact that it was this person's father that told me this, and then my father told me this. Of course, we've all watched some scenarios and analyses where one person tries to pass information to the next person tries to pass information to the next person. So core processes were thwarted through verbal communication of these records, whatever it is. And this is how the first world countries were able to build. They had records. They kept records of stuff that was done by their predecessors. And because they were able to keep these records, they were able to build on these records, these patterns. Let's use the medical field. Somebody who has recorded that he used this plant and that plant, and then he helped, or this was the issue, and he recorded it down on paper. Another doctor or somebody else in that field sees it as like, okay, you can use this at this. Let us do this. And then you can see how these first world countries have been able to build on top of stuff for the A's. They have now been able to develop and build a society based on patterns. They've used it to develop a society that is working. Currently in Africa, what we don't have history, we don't have data, we don't have these patterns for our forefathers and all of that. So we can't really improve on it. And now we have leaders who are basically money-driven, luxury-driven. Most of our political leaders today were installed based on politics from whatever it is. So they weren't taught how to build on something that failed. They were already, most of them came into power. They showed a lot of them money. Those that understand that if these people know where they are coming from, they can build a society based on where they are coming from. Rather, they came and dumped the result. And so it's like we're supposed to pick up from the result and move when we don't know the beginning, the origin of this system. It would have been better if Africa had built her system slowly till we get to a good system that will last for years and produce a society. But that's what we have. Most of our leaders we have now, most of them were shown the results. They were shown luxury, money. So that's all they think of. They don't have time to study, record, and improve on patterns that have stagnated Africa for years. So that's why I talked about the Fibonacci sequence. So we can see that patterns are there, like I said, in technology. And the major topic for today is patterns in human behavior. Understanding patterns can help us predict certain outcomes in life, in relationships, in careers, blah, blah, blah. And we can do this. We can have 100% prediction or 80% prediction if we study 2 stages. Number 1 is the beginning. When you're talking about the beginning, is intentions. Why? But why? Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to bet this? Why am I interested in this? This beginning stage, your intentions always, in a way, affects the process. The process is the second stage before the final result. The process, we're just looking at the beginning and the process because this is where patterns actually lie. The result is the result of whatever pattern you have chosen in that. So we're not looking at the end product. We're looking at the beginning and the process. The beginning affects the process. The process is 90% the determinant factor of the result. Now, how is this way? The beginning is the intentions. If the reason why you want to make money is to flaunt money, it will affect the process in which you want to make that money. And the end result is you flaunting the money. You can always shuttle between the intention and the process before you get to your final result. Why? Because of the environment or up the brain, you might have the wrong intention about something, the wrong why I should get this thing. And while you're executing this process, and because of your wrong motive or wrong why, your process is kind of shady. When you're executing the process, you can meet something and it gives you more insight about life, and then you go back to change your intentions. Therefore, your process will not change. So you will always shuffle between process and intention till you get it right and produce the exact result that you want. Now, let's look at patterns in modern societies. Look at some of the good patterns we see in modern society. But let me, before going into that, I was reading one of this book, Aristotle, whatever. I told this is Nicomachean Ethics, where he says something. She said, we are what we equitably do. Hence, excellence is not an art, but a habit. That is why we're not looking at the result. What really defines a man, woman, is the intention and the process. A man will be through greed has grown over time. Of course, he's a wealthy man. And then you see a man who also has money, about the same result. But this one is loyal, he has human sympathy and all of that. It is when you now continue to interact with these people that you will now see who and do is who. So that's why I said the process and the retentions define a man and a woman. And let's go back. We're looking at patterns in modern society. And let's look at the good patterns. And we'll be looking at family. A couple who prioritizes family or the unity of their family first. Any couple who plays by this rule of engagement or plays by this pattern of life, whether that family is in Congo, whether that family is in Brazil, whether that family is in South Africa, you will see that this family can stand the test of time. Because why? This is a pattern that has worked over ages. A couple who puts family first. Whatever, there's this saying that we value what we spend time with the most. We value what we put most of our effort in the most. And whatever we value or put so much effort, there's always 100% or 90% tendency of success. So if this is a pattern of life. The second we'll be looking at is career. And then when we talk about success stories in career, we are not talking about money missold or get rich quick fraudulent schemes. We are talking about success that has a story, that is authentic and comes with intellectual buoyancy. You can trace the pattern and compare the same patterns to people all over the world. You can see discipline, you can see consistency, you can see boldness, you can see confidence. When you trace success stories, authentic success stories around the world, you can see patterns. It's just that by virtue of their environment, they can be a little bit of, or they are basic rules. I call them MO of life, modus operandi of life. Whatever you want to achieve in life, you have to follow that pattern. There's always, patterns are like blueprints, first principle. There's always a point where, in accordance to your environment or where you stay, you can twat some things a little bit, or playing by those basic rules of engagement. You will see that similar story in Mr. A, Mr. C, Mr. B in different parts of the world. There's a reason why we don't, or we ignore patterns. There's a reason. There's so many reasons, and we're going to look at a couple of reasons why people ignore patterns. One of the reasons why people ignore patterns is the illusion of being the exception. We all think that we are special, the rules don't apply to us, but patterns don't lie. Patterns are principles built by God and installed in the world. Nature obeys patterns. Science obeys patterns. So who do you think you are to work in the alternative and expect the same result as those working the actual pattern? And now, the second reason why we ignore patterns is because the fear of hard work. Many people want the result, like I said, many people want the result of discipline, consistency, but aren't willing to put in the work. Another reason which we'll be looking at, the first reason was the illusion of being the exception. The second reason is the fear of hard work. The third reason is the comparison trap. I call it the comparison trap. Why? We see someone else's highlight reel and think that we can skip the process and live only in the highlight reel or the results of someone else, sleepless night and hard work. But patterns don't work that way. You see somebody's reel on Instagram, and automatically you are trying to live that reel. You're trying to make sure, who told you that is his everyday life? How do we identify and leverage patterns for success, which should be your take home for today? First step is to recognize the patterns in your own life for every aspect of your life. Are they leading you towards success or destruction in that aspect of your life? I've seen people live a lie to themselves so much that they start living that lie, and it leads them to a certain type of life, which I will go into some other time. You live a lie to a point that when something hits you with the truth, you can't accept it. You become chaotic. You can't stand yourself. So what you do is you run to drugs, you run to people, you run to social media to see, just looking for somebody to validate that lie. And once you see that it gives you a short-term peace of mind. So every day you're running to these things because you can't even stand yourself because you have told yourself a lie. We now live that lie. That lie has become a habit, and that life has become your lifestyle. Every day, and one thing about life is, every day the truth will be poking you at the side. Yes, that number one, self-awareness. Tell yourself the truth. Recognize the patterns in your own life and change it if it's necessary. Then number two is mentorship. I had a conversation with somebody, and then in this conversation we were checking, is experience really the best teacher? And I came to a conclusion that mentorship is, because in mentorship there's experience. With the right mentorship there's experience, and mentorship is best because experience will cost you a lot. Experience will cost you time. Experience is we call it the best teacher, but it's the most expensive teacher. It costs you time. It can cost you a loved one. It can cost you a lot. But mentorship, even if you don't have a direct mentor, by the time you study the patterns of people who have achieved that thing you want, emulate their habits and their mindset, not their titles and their physical looks, you will be able to achieve the same level of success these people got rather. So learning from others, mentorship is one of the ways to leverage patterns for success. Study. Why should you be mindful of patterns? Because patterns and legacy at 5 and 6. The funniest thing is that nobody is in the history books because they paid bills. So it's funny when I see people say, $30,000. I used $400,000 to do this. There's nobody that is written that when you're gone, you're gone. That thing goes with you. Nobody cares about the level of Lamborghini. I've not read any book, or I've not seen anybody speak in a conference hall or a conference meeting, and they are talking about somebody that died and I was paying bills. I was buying, it was expensive thing in life. No. People, when they talk about legacy, people talk about your positive contributions and your pattern of life. This is what people talk about after you've gone. Nobody talks about the kind of bills you were paying. Nobody's in the history book because of that. That's number one. Patterns have a ripple effect. Patterns are important because of the ripple effect it has on others around you. Your life is a pattern that people will study, people will talk about, especially your children, if you have any or you're thinking of having any. Even if you don't have any, and you don't live your life with a thought process of what people will say about you when you're gone, I don't think that if you're that kind of person, anybody that thinks of having a reasonable life should sit down at the same table with you. Because you live for nothing, you die for nothing. One thing that is funny is that the same people that are outside there screaming, I don't care about what people say, I live my life, because these are the same people. I'm not obligated to anybody. Why should I care? I'm so free. I read a book, and in that book it said, excess freedom is chaos. There's no boundary. We're a loose dog. Whatever comes in, comes, and whatever goes out, goes out. There is no packaging to your life. There is no, people cannot. I was listening to a man of God, and he said something that was reasonable. He said that when you talk about Cristiano Ronaldo, when you mention his name in the next 10, 50 years, people will say, he was a footballer, he was good. Nobody will remember how many cars he had. And then when you talk about Messi, when you talk about Okonjo-Iweala, when you talk about certain names, when you mention certain names, people will write them in their books. When they call your name, what do people remember? Nothing. Because you're not the first person to twerk on the internet. You will not be the last. It does not have value. It's something that any and everybody can do. When I speak highly of two people in my life, the person that employed me where I work, and my father, these are people that left legacy. These are people that I felt their presence. These are people that live the life of integrity. And don't speak about how many cars or what did. I speak about their lifestyle. I speak about their sacrifice. That's what people remember you for. Like I said, I have not seen anywhere that somebody remembers somebody for how many cars they had. That's by the way. I would encourage you guys to, take a moment, reflect on the patterns in your life. Are they leading you towards fulfillment or growth? I encourage you to, like I always said, you can shuffle between the intentions and your process. If it was wrong intentions by virtue of, somebody, betrayal, environment, disloyalty, those are a lot of things that should shape your life. Those are events that are beyond your control. But the only thing that is within your control is what you do, your choices and your actions, your reactions to those things. So then let the world define you, rather than you define the world. So I encourage you, it's never too late to change your path. Please, let's read this book, Atomic Habit, by James Clear. It talks about patterns. It talks about patterns, but this time it talks about patterns to the tiniest bit of activities. It talks about behavioral patterns. Very rare. So patterns are the blueprints in life. You can either follow them and thrive, or ignore them and suffer. The choice is yours. Patterns don't lie. If you want a different result, you have to change your pattern. The choice is yours. So pay attention to your life. Like I said, read that book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. It will teach you a lot about tiny habits and patterns. It's your boy, King Badom. As usual, one real step at a time. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications. my next video, I'll be talking about loyalty and trust, and somehow I'll be linking plans, patterns, and how it affects loyalty and trust. Thank you. God bless you, and stay safe.
Style.